women in general are not safe. And so what once was a message to African Muslim men that attached their manhood to their ability to keep women safe and nurtured became one of control. And so I think that I'm hoping that is that shifting back again now? Are we going to get, because, you know, one of the things that I use as an example is right after Trump was elected, okay, you know, Muslim women, everyone was like, they were running around the country, you know, white rage was running rampant, and Muslim women were targeted. And they did not feel safe from the outside culture, all right? Especially covered Muslim women, you know, not only covered Muslim women, because you're still black and brown, even if you don't cover, but covered Muslim women were just the most obvious targets. And this whole idea of, well, you know, when you turn around and you're saying, listen, I don't feel safe to Muslim masculinity, the answer that you give is like, well, maybe you want to think about taking it off. You know, so it's not better off. You know, what does that say about the shift and what has happened, you know, as opposed to like Malcolm X saying, look, go ahead, you want to touch one of our women? Go for it and see what happens to you. To telling the woman, to telling the victim, well, maybe, you know, you just want to take it off because you could just like kind of take it off. And I'm not responsible. I don't have to worry about it anymore. You don't have to worry about it anymore, despite the fact of, you know, the emotional and spiritual trauma that it causes a woman to have to decide to take it off if she's doing it, feeling to be allowed. That's notwithstanding. You know, it's just that I don't want to protect you the way that I'm supposed to protect you. So why don't you take it off? So is there a shift back to, has it always been there, but it needs to be strengthened again? Or do we need just like really just a paradigm shift back to this idea of attaching manhood to protector and nurturer?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a shift going both ways. There's a shift going away and a shift going forward. And I think what's happening now is a lot is kind of separate through adversity. A lot is separating those who are serious, you know what I mean, for those who are not. And we're starting to see more and more and more who's serious about the protection of us, you know, and who is placating, you know, to the system, you know. And, you know, I would say in this day and age, it's not easy because let me give you an example. Let's say you have a protection-minded man, you know, they know that, okay, you know what, you know, but, you know, bottom line is, as a protection-minded man, you have to also be smart, because if you go about seeking vengeance the wrong way, then you end up in jail, and then your family doesn't see you. And then if you were a provider, now you're one less provider. You see what I'm saying? And that's why part of it is system-based. You know, part of it, the system is definitely catered to make sure that they want women to not seek their protection from their men in their community, and to seek their protection from the state or from the police. You see what I'm saying? That's how they want it to be. As long as you don't feel, you need to feel more safe with us than you do with your own kind. And it's a really subtle kind of thing. We have to be smart about it. But one of the things that I think we could do a whole lot better if we put our energy to is, you know, kind of a group thing. Like, you know, at the end of the day, and we're talking about in our meeting is, how can we, for example, why don't we all have more, why don't we have each other's contact numbers? Why don't we know where people live? You know what I'm saying? Why can't we, okay, the sisters who are single, you know, we need to have an app, for example, where something happens, they can send it off, or push button, or something where they feel a little bit like, okay, you know what, if I go missing for 3 or 4 days, you see what I'm saying? At least somebody will come and find me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think there's a shift, because our parents, like my parents' generation, we got to remember, they did start this thing, right? And what happened was, a lot of them, when they were starting to try to build their community, were infiltrated. A lot of them went to jail, and the ones who didn't go to jail were so scared. They're like, you know, I just need to fall back and just kind of working this 9 to 5, getting my money and trying to take care of my immediate family, because they were heartbroken, because a lot of their community efforts were destroyed by outside forces. And so, but I think part of that also had to do with the fact that while that was happening, also we were also bringing in the misogyny thing. And I don't think a law protects things that aren't aren't, you know, sincere. And so while we were also protecting women, well, we were protecting women from the outside, we were not protected from the inside. The emotional abuse. It was a lot of emotional abuse in our community back. And I would venture to say a lot of it was even unintentional, because you're talking about men and women who were converting from one lifestyle, and then all of a sudden deciding, okay, you know what, this is how I'm going to run things this way. And then who are they learning from? So it's like not like, it's not like, okay, this real easy answer, like, you know, and it's not just a matter of people have nefarious intentions and some people don't, you know, like, no, like a lot of this stuff was like, okay, man, like I can look at some parents and the generations ahead of us and go, man, you know, like you really tried your best, but man, you really screwed up right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And both are really the thing. And what our job to do is to try to figure out, they already paved the way. You know, we try to figure out and learn from, you know, the mistakes and from the good things that our parents, because one thing our parents' generation did do as African American is that just as good as 20 years ago, women would talk about how they didn't have to worry about, if they covered, they didn't have to worry about being accosted on the street.
Yeah.
Because they knew, it's, you know, like if you were Muslim, we had this reputation of being kind of crazy in that way, right? And that was actually good. But one of the things that I do think that has made this more of a problem is that now there's a much higher, to be honest, immigrant representation of Islam, right? Mm-hmm. And the majority, let's be real, the majority of the immigrants who came here, they came here not to practice Islam, but to increase their business, increase their affluence business-wise, right? And so even if you ever learn the oath of the oath that they have to take when they come here, just to become a citizen, that we as African Americans don't have to take because we're already citizens. The oath that they have to take, basically to pledge allegiance to the sovereignty of this place. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when you look at that from a standpoint of now, when they feel like their safety is being threatened, they're going to have a different way of going about it. And a lot of their ways, and I'm not saying all immigrants, I'm only talking about some, because I don't like to generalize everybody and put everyone in the same pot. But a lot of what we see in the media representation is we talked about this before, this apologetic attitude. And what that has done to me, one of the things it has done, it has taken away the mystique that, let's say, even somewhat people like the Nation of Islam had, where when you saw Muslims, you saw strength. Yeah. Now when you see Muslims, you see, oh, we're trying to be just like you. Yeah. And just like the bottom line is, anyone who, for example, attacks and accosts innocent people or murders innocent people, they're already like animals. Yeah. And smell blood, they attack. Or any animal, when they smell fear, they attack, right? So because we have shown our fear, we have shown our fear, and we have shown a lack of willingness to say, look, I don't care what you do, but if you come after our women, whatever the repercussions are going to be in my spot. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And the only place where you still find that is probably the hood.
That's because in American society, it is extremely important that the dominant white culture, strips anyone outside of it, any men outside of it, of their masculinity. It's done across the board. Okay. Right. It's happened to Asians. When they came, so they really feminized the Asian male, made him less threatening. At first it wasn't as difficult to do to the African American Muslim male because they were in chains. So they definitely weren't a threat then, and raping their women, the quickest way to strip men of their masculinity is to make sure that you send the message that you can't protect your women against anyone. All right. So I think that this whole misguided attempt for acceptance is very immigrant based. Other immigrant groups did it as well, but there's still that underrunning attempt to strip, in this case, Muslim men of their masculinity. And I think that the African American Muslim male initially resisted it and continues to resist it.
We do.
But unfortunately, I think you continue to resist it, But I think that, like you said, simultaneously, a lot of them have become the abusers themselves.
Yeah, a lot of the resistance is misplaced on the lower hanging fruit, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like at the end of the day, like remember, like the systematic oppression is causing a trickle down effect. So why are
Yeah.
we harder on the reactors than we are?
Mhm.
Every time I see someone who is harder on the reactors of oppression, that's already it automatically okay. You're emasculated. You know what I'm saying?